Robinson's the runner at third with nobody out. Seaver pitching. Low outside fastball hit hard to right center field. Here comes Swoboda out of nowhere. Nowhere. He's made the most incredible catch in World Series history. Holy cow, Frank Robinson is tagged up and scored.
Welcome to The Catch, new podcast with New York Mets great Ron Swoboda, and I'm Chris Champagne. Welcome, Ron. Thanks again for joining us for The Catch. And the first one, we talked about the season of the New York Mets in 1969. That a lot of people didn't think that the Mets would even be a contender for that year, and it kind of happened, and you got to the National League Championship Series, which is the first time, because that was the first year they had division playoffs. But first, we always start off with a trivia question, and I'll reiterate it at the end of the show. This is kind of you may know the answer to this one, okay? In the 1969 World Series, which New York Met had the highest batting average in the World Series? A, Al Weiss, B, Don Clendenin, C, Ken Boswell, or D, Ron Swoboda. Okay, we'll get to that later, okay? All right, so for the first time, there was a playoff series.
Right.
And you were telling me the other day about how it's interesting that you played the Braves.
Right.
Because before the season, the general managers of the Mets and the Braves had serious discussions.
Yeah, they came together. The Braves in 1969, going into spring training, were looking to move Joe Torre, who we just saw the other day in his Yankee uniform at the All-Star game. And, a great baseball guy, great hitter, turned into a pretty good manager, not for his time with the Mets, but for his time with the Yankees, of course. But the Braves were looking to move Joe Torre somewhere.
And he was a great hitter. He was a very good hitter.
No, he was top of the line, yes. Power hitter. And he was originally a catcher, but he was playing a lot of first base back then.
He won the batting average one year as well.
Oh yeah, he was quality hitter.
Yeah.
And he didn't beat any of them out either, because he couldn't run.
That's right, he couldn't run.
I mean, they were base hits.
Yeah.
But they wanted to get some arms in their organization. They didn't have any, and they started talking to the Mets, who had a plethora of
yes.
pretty good arms
right.
back in 1969. And Paul Richards, the GM of the Bravos, got hot and heavy with Johnny Murphy, a former pitcher, who was the GM of the New York Mets. And every time he mentioned Nolan Ryan, no, he's untouchable. Jim McAndrew, no, he's untouchable. Gary Gentry, no, he's untouchable. And finally, Paul Richards said, "You got so many untouchables." He said, "You sound like a team that won the World Series last year," you know? But Johnny Murphy, I think, was smart in the sense that don't give up these guys. They were so young and inexperienced, these great arms that we had. Don't give them up before you even know what they are. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that might have been the origin of the expression, sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't make.
Sure.
Well, so they did not do a deal with the Braves. The Braves traded Joe Torre to the St. Louis Cardinals straight up for Orlando Cepeda and never got the pitching they were looking for. And then obviously at the end of the season, when we went into that first playoff series, they started all right-handed pitchers, the Braves did. So me and the left-handed, our right-handed hitting platoon, we got to watch a lot of pretty good baseball, and we got to watch the left-handed platoon of the New York Mets out-hit the Braves against their pitching, out-hit them in that 3 out of 5, and we swept them. Pretty amazing stuff. But I think there was a direct connection to the deal that wasn't done in spring.
Well, absolutely, you would think so. I mean, because if they would have had one of those guys, they might have won.
It could have made a difference for sure.
I mean, you talked last time about how there was another trade that y'all made, the trade for Clendenin, where they sent Steve Rogers to Montreal, and Steve Rogers was became
He
a pretty
made
good-
the deal. It was like a 5-for-1 deal, and Steve Rogers hung around Montreal long enough. He made, with his success as a pitcher, he made the deal make sense.
Yeah, he was an all-star, and I mean, so that's just to show you
Yes.
how deep y'all had
Yes,
talent on that team. I mean,
Yes.
You know, and, okay, so then you made it to the World Series, and I mean, do you remember, how that felt, you know, after you won that, I mean, I know it's been a while, but, you know, you beat the Braves and you finally, you know, you're gonna go to this World Series.
we were dazzled, you know, I was.
Yeah.
And I knew the Orioles had a couple left-handed starting pitchers, so we knew that
So you're gonna get to play.
Hodges was platooning strictly back then, and we knew, you know, the right-handed hitting platoon knew we were going to get to play a little bit. And yeah, I mean, as a kid, you played games. I grew up in Baltimore, and you played games with the Orioles, and I used to hit rocks
Yeah.
into the woods, and I'd imitate all the Oriole hitters, and
Yeah.
I'd turn around left-handed and try to hit rocks into the woods with, you know, you played these games imagining you were the Orioles, and then you imagine being in a World Series was almost too much of a dream to dream.
Yeah.
Back then, as a kid growing up and playing as much amateur baseball as I could, it was enough to want to play professional baseball. That seemed a little out there.
Sure.
To throw a World Series in there was completely ridiculous.
And like you said, I mean, you're playing your hometown team. That's pretty special.
The irony of that, I can, puts a grin on my face every time.
Yeah.
Just because that was the first major league uniform I ever put on. When I worked out with the Orioles way back when, when they were looking, back before the draft, when, I was a prospect, and I got to take batting practice and whatnot with the Orioles on the field, and you're standing around there in the same uniform as these professional players, major league players, man, and you're like, you think I could, is there any, can you even imagine that you might be able to compete on a field with these guys?
I mean,
you don't have the answer to that. When you start thinking that can happen, when a scout for the Mets walks in my house and offers me $35,000 to go play baseball, I said, that sounds like they want me to do this, because I'm going to sign that contract, and you better move out of the way because I need to get there, and my mom and dad were making about $12,500 a year, the two of them together. And so that was big money to me, and changed my world, and that was pretty exciting. But
that's great.
5 years later, you're playing on this team in 1969. You're a seasoned pro, if you can, you're a seasoned major leaguer by then.
Sure.
And here you go into the Fall Classic, man. I mean, that's the stuff of dreams. That's the stuff you can't even dream about as a kid.
Well, now people you may ask a friend of yours you haven't seen in a while how you doing, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm living a dream," like they kidding around. But you were living a dream.
Well, you did. You did absolutely. And then to realize that even in that contest at the end of the year, it's still baseball, and you really have to get through the magnitude of it and get to what it really is. It's just a game of baseball.
Yeah.
You have to get through all of the hoopla and stuff. Probably harder today than it was back then.
Well, I don't want to linger on this too much because I want to get into the series itself.
Yeah.
But what you just said, I mean, how much is there to that? The hoopla. I mean, how much of a distraction is all of that stuff?
Well, I mean, you're trying to get tickets for your family and your interviews and stuff, and,
Sure.
and you realize you're in New York City, man, and here you are, the toast of the town.
Right.
And, trying to keep your head level and my friends were not higher ups, okay? My best friend one guy was a Nassau County cop, a detective. Charlie Blansfield, my other best friend, Harvey Lebo, ran a children's store in Long Island. Those are the kind of people I hung around.
Sure.
Working stiffs.
Well, I mean, your family and your friends must have been stoked. I mean, really.
My mom and dad coming from Baltimore. Yeah,
I mean, Jesus.
we didn't talk about it a lot, because they came up to New York a good bit from Baltimore.
I mean, that's.
But knowing that you were going to play the Baltimore Orioles and that the first game was going to be in Memorial Stadium, where I had played as an amateur in Baltimore,
Right.
and where I had worked out with the Orioles, that was large. When I walked on that field, when I ran on that field, I can tell you that 12-year-old kid was inside there, and his eyes were big as saucers.
That's great.
You had to calm him down before you could actually relax and play the game. And I let the first ball hit in the series gets over the fence for a home run by the Orioles, and everybody's going, well, here we go. They're gonna roll these boys in short order.
Okay, well, that's a good way to start into the series, because the Orioles obviously were the team that everybody thought was going to win. Let's face it. I
They
mean,
thought they were going to win, and I think they probably couldn't believe their good fortune to be playing us.
yeah.
But the thing that people forget is we came out of the National League, and the National League, in every way, in terms of depth of talent, was a better league than the American League back then. It
Yeah.
was in '69.
Yeah.
It was for the next few years.
Right. They used to win all the All-Star games as opposed to now.
They won 19 out of 20 All-Star games, and they
Right.
won them because they had more good Latino players. They had more good African-American players. That depth that was fostered when the National League teams put those folks to work and hired those guys to play. They were better players, period.
Well, we talked about the pitching that y'all had.
Yes.
But Baltimore had a pretty formidable starting rotation as well, with Cuellar, who was at the top of his game at that time, McNally, who was his
Yeah.
top pitcher, and of course Jim Palmer was with them as well.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Palmer, was probably the most power guy. McNally was a, breaking ball guy. Cuellar had this screwball and, big curveball and stuff. He was an off-speed guy, tricking you all the time. Good guy, good command guy. But Palmer was the power pitcher with a pretty good breaking ball.
So the Orioles won the first game. Cuellar was pitching.
Yeah, we don't do much against him. He looks pretty confident, and the Orioles do what everybody thought they were going to do. They beat us, and we were down one game in Baltimore.
Right.
And it was interesting because Gil Hodges, who didn't say much, really, most of what he thought, if he felt some way about something, it was in his lineup card and whatnot. He didn't talk a lot. There were times when he would haul you in the office and see what's going on in your brain, but he didn't do a lot of that. But he said something after we lost game one, and he said, guys, just remember, you don't have to be anything but the team that got you here. Don't try to swell up and be bigger than life. Don't try to be anything but what got you here. And I thought that was so perceptive to a team that had, lost the first game like everybody said you were supposed to lose, like everybody expected you to lose. We lost it. And Hodges was saying, boys, don't worry about that. Just don't try to be anything but this team that got you here and won 100 games, by the way, in the National League.
Right.
I think it settled guys down. And of course, again, we had good enough pitching that we were going to still roll out some pretty good arms
Yeah.
who who were going to get it up there pretty good. And, of course, the rest is history. We win 4 straight and knock off the Orioles, a team that could have been Destiny's darlings, except we got in the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also had, for those of you who don't know, they also had Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson, which is not too shabby.
No, I mean, they were a team,
well.
Palmer, a former,
And Palmer,
future Hall of Famers, Boog Powell and Davy Johnson, pretty good player. I mean, they were a team with a lot of ability.
Right.
No doubt about it. But maybe we snuck up on them a little bit.
Well, probably a little bit, but maybe not for long. I'm sure they realized it because it was a pretty competitive, all the games. I mean, the second game, Koosman shut them down pretty much.
Kuzi was such a competitor, and and the other thing, and I'll say this: every break that we needed in that series, we got. Every call, every great catch, every something. Just the winds of fate seemed to be blowing behind us. We were getting pushed along by something. It just seemed like there was something at work there that said, that something wasn't going to let this most amazing matchup, fall in a predictable way. And I think the Mets winning it was unpredictable.
Well, to that, doing some of my research, I found another sports writer said about that at the end. He said, they call them the Miracle Mets, except, he said, they played a really good brand of baseball, and that's why they won. Now, sure, they got some breaks here and there, but it wasn't a miracle. It was that they played better, and they did it.
Yeah, what is a miracle?
Well, sure, yeah.
What is a miracle? Doing something that nobody thinks you're going to do.
Everything's bigger in New York anyway.
Yes.
It's not a happenstance, it's a miracle.
And of course that tag has remained, the Miracle Mets. We are the Miracle Mets, and at 81 years old, I go to New York, and people make you feel welcome. I mean, it's not as hot a thing as it used to be when you were younger, and the younger people knew who you were.
Yeah. Well,
but when I go to Citi Field, and this summer my son and I are going to go up to Citi Field and watch the Mets in August against the Phillies, and hopefully it'll matter.
Yeah.
But the plan is. But I love being in the stadium. I love having a relationship with the team. I care about that team.
Well, just a personal note here. I mean, you're a great guy to be around. You're full of enthusiasm and good insights, and you're just a nice guy. So that's one thing I'm sure that everybody is, when they see you coming the second time, they want to see you.
Well,
I can tell you.
As I said in my book, The Catch.
Here's the catch.
Here's the catch.
That's the name of the book, by the way.
I'm a very fortunate person, and came from good people, and just tried to always have tried to be the best I can be.
Well, I think you've done a pretty good job at that. And by the way, Mr. Swoboda, the man sitting to my right today on this podcast, The Catch, he, in the last 2 games of that World Series, he went 5 for 8. So that's not too shabby.
That might have done it. Yeah,
that's not too shabby.
I didn't have much going until then, but yeah, I got a few knocks, including what was the winning run in Game 5.
So let's talk about the catch itself and the game in Game 4. All right. They had been on base, and Seaver was pitching.
Yep.
And Brooks Robinson was up.
And Gil Hodges walks out to the mound.
Oh, yes, talk to Seaver, yes.
And when I wrote my book, Here's the Catch, I called Tom, and I said, what did you guys talk about? And Tom, who was struggling with Lewy body dementia back then, and there were certain things that had dropped out. There was something, robbed him of memories, and he said, Rocky, I have no memory of that. I did later on read somewhere where Hodges came out and said to Seaver. Ground ball back to you. Check that runner. It was first and third. The tying run was on third. Brooks Robinson was the hitter. Boog Powell was the runner at first. If the ground ball's back to you, don't go immediately to try to get a double play, which would have ended the inning.
Right.
Hodges said, I want you to check the runner. Make sure one. And make sure the guy at third base doesn't score.
Okay.
And because he thought Seaver could get the rest of the outs, and I thought, that's probably pretty sound advice. That's pretty sound advice. What happened, of course, Brooks Robinson hits a line drive, and all those line drives and stuff that I caught from Eddie Yost came into play. I run full stride on my backhand, lay out on my backhand, and you can see from the photograph that the ball is in my glove, a couple of inches off the ground. That's where I caught it, and it was like the last chance I had to catch it. I didn't know I was going to make that play until I made that play.
Sure.
When it was nestled in my web, I knew I had caught it. Turned into a pretty spectacular sacrifice fly, actually.
Yeah, well, you bounced right up and threw it in pretty quick, so.
I did. I did. Frank Robinson, smart player at third base, tagged up. He knows as soon as the ball hits my glove, he can go, whether I catch it or not.
Right. Right.
If I bobble it, whatever. And there's a to this day, at 81 years old, I cannot envision in my mind a safe route. When Brooks hit that line drive, there was one route to try to intersect the flight of that ball that I could see.
I see.
I couldn't see a safe route.
Okay. Because I read an article about it, and the guy said that the safe thing would have been to let it drop in front of you, but you say
there was no in front of me. I'm running 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. From listening to you, and I just saw it recently. I watched it again. I see what you're saying. I mean, there was no such thing.
If I don't get it, Tommy Agee better, the center fielder. Right. He better run it down and keep Boog Powell from scoring.
Yeah, that may have meant Boog Powell was the fastest guy in the world. So
but that's if I never touched it. Yeah. Now there's a lot of things that could have happened. I could have hit it,
and bounced off,
knocked it down. It didn't stay in my glove. Right. All kinds of things could happen.
But I mean, there's no doubt, as we talked about in the first podcast that we did last week. I mean, that practice that you did
it made a difference.
I had to.
Made a difference.
Absolutely.
Without you even knowing, you did it. Most of the things you work on in baseball, you work on them just in case.
Yeah.
Because when they happen, they happen. So you need this stuff ingrained. You need this stuff as part of your program, because most of the time you're an outfielder, you're just reacting to the ball. You're reacting.
But that's in almost every physical thing. I mean, it's like, people in the military, for instance, they may be a jet fighter. He might practice his entire career, never get into a dogfight. But you got to practice.
But you better know how.
Yeah. And now, have you listened to the broadcast call of it?
I did go back and it is not. It is, they don't play it very big.
No, they don't.
Pretty quiet.
It is.
Oh, he caught the ball.
Yeah, you caught the ball. Yeah.
I said, dude, that's the greatest play I ever made in my life. You seen a better play than that by an outfielder? But I mean, after it settled in, and after the replay got shown over the years and all, I mean, it became, in capital letters, the catch.
Right.
And I've the guy that worked sports in Baltimore, said, the only way Swoboda would ever make a living with his glove is to cook it and eat it. And another guy asked me, he said, how long are you going to keep trying to make a living off of one catch? And my answer to him was, how long have I got?
Well, I read another sports writer said that those that saw the catch, your catch, say that it was probably a better catch. They believe it was actually a better catch than Willie Mays' catch.
The degree of difficulty was
Yeah.
greater than Willie Mays' catch.
Because they destroyed the Indians that year anyway, so even if you dropped it, they would have won. But in your case, that was game 4. If you lose that game, it's 2-2.
And the guy that hit the ball to Willie Mays was
Vic
Vic
Wertz.
Wertz, who played that year for the Orioles.
Oh, really?
And I saw him hit his only home run as an Oriole that year, early in the season. We were in the ballpark.
Wow.
I didn't go to a lot of Oriole games growing up in Baltimore, but I saw him hit that one home run he hit.
He must
and
have
of
been
course, he was a power hitter.
Yeah.
And a good one.
Yeah.
But the camera they used to shoot Willie Mays' catch, the still shots, not the motion picture camera, but the still shots was the same camera they used to shoot mine. And that was a stop action camera. That was a new innovation
Okay.
that was actually related to the development of missiles after World War II. They used stop-action cameras to take boom, 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 pictures of these missiles taking off and whatnot so they could see how they were reacting.
Well, I don't really think I know anybody else who's anything they've ever done has been compared to Willie Mays, so that's pretty cool
Well,
in and of itself.
When you played Mays as many games as I played against Willie Mays, you never took your eyes off him.
Yeah, yeah.
You were honored to be on the same field, period.
Now, the game went to the 10th inning, that game that you made
Yep.
the catch, and it ended up, as we talked before in the first show, on a bunt. J.C. Martin came to bat, bunted, and I can't remember the pitcher for the Orioles, but he threw it. Well, he didn't throw it away. He hit
It was a
Martin with the ball.
left-handed pitcher.
Yeah. Now, there was a big brouhaha after that about whether he was running inside the base.
Yeah, that line that
Right.
splits the first baseline, you're supposed to run in foul territory.
Right, and Weaver got thrown out of game 3, so Weaver was still in the game in game 4.
Yeah.
So that must have been something to see. Him bitching.
Oh, well, he would have had to because
The game
if
was
you
over
go back and
otherwise.
look at the pictures, J.C. Martin is a little bit on the line.
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, he wasn't out there where he was in the play. He might have been right on the line, and not enough in my book to make that call.
They didn't have any replay.
But
or
we
anything.
got a break on that, like
Yeah.
we got a break on my catch, like we got a break on a couple of other plays that were made.
Yeah.
Tommy Agee makes 2 outstanding plays
Catches,
in the
if I
outfield,
recall.
saves 5 runs with 2 out, and my catch, of course. We got a lot of pretty good defensive opportunities and made most of them.
And I don't know how there's also an incident, I think, when Cleon Jones, I think, got hit on the foot with the ball, and they had to show up
Yeah, I mean,
the shoe
Jerry
polish.
Kuzman to this day will tell you that he, back then the shoes were all black and they were polished with black polish, right?
Yeah.
So if a white baseball hit your black shoe, it's going to leave a mark.
Right.
That ball got fouled into the dugout, and Kuzman claims that he
Put the
rubbed it on his shoe and handed it to Gil. He'll tell you that today. I don't know if that happened, but I know one thing. Hodges had the ball, and he showed it to the umpire, and Cleon Jones went to first base, and that was another big break we got.
Well, that's an anecdote that's worth listening to this podcast for right there. Okay, I got news for you. Okay, well, we're at the end of another one, The Catch with Ron Swoboda, and it's been extremely interesting, and we'll be on every week, I hope, for a while. So tell your friends, and it's called The Catch with Ron Swoboda, and we start off every podcast with a trivia question, and today's was about the '69 World Series. Who had the highest batting average in the World Series for the Mets? A, Al Weiss, B, Don Clendenin, C, Ken Boswell, or D, Ron Swoboda?
Didn't that guy hit 600?
No, it was 453.
453? I thought I hit 600.
No, you hit
400?
you hit 400.
Okay.
But
Who hit 600?
no, nobody hit 600.
No.
You said that 453 was the top.
So that was me?
No, you were second.
I was second?
You hit 400.
Oh, okay. It was Weiss?
Weiss. Yeah.
Weiss. Well, I just spent some time with Al Weiss.
really?
He's doing great. Yeah. Well, you fooled me a little bit. I was thinking it was me.
Well, I didn't mean to burst your bubble.
I had the most base hits.
That could be, yeah, because you were 5 for 8 in the last 2 games.
Right.
So I mean, you contributed heavily with your.
Well, thank you for clarifying that.
with your bat, your glove, and certainly with your legs, I'm sure, because you had to run out there. Because they didn't bring you out there.
It's all good.
Well, you listen to The Catch with Ron Swoboda. Thank you so much, Ron. All right.